Leanne, can you see the people in the queue?
Yes, I can, and I've got the
And-
list in front of me.
Just want to make sure the Lieutenant Governor's on, Dan McKee and Representative Robert Quattrucci.
They aren't on yet.
Okay, Chris Parisi and Mark Dion from Rhode Island Small Business
Yeah,
Coalition.
they're both on. Cheyenne is on.
Okay,
I'm watching.
so she's asking, are they supposed to be audience members and then they can come in and Dan
I
can
thought
talk?
I would promote them when that comes up for public discussion.
Okay.
I can
Cheyenne
promote them.
Cheyenne is saying Dan might be on as just Dan, if you can see him.
Can you repeat that?
Cheyenne is saying that Dan might be on as just Dan.
Oh, all right. I'll promote her. Oh, all right. I found him.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No, the council is starting. You can log on.
Oh, all right.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us, sir.
Ed, is Diane your mother?
Diane is my mother. Yep.
I went to high school with her.
Oh, that's great. That's excellent. I'll make sure to say hello.
And yeah, tell her I said hello. It was a long time ago.
I will do. Absolutely.
Good evening, Major. Good evening, Governor.
Good evening.
Welcome to our town.
Well,
Ken.
we appreciate that, Ken. Ken, congratulations on your mayor-elect status.
Thank you, sir. Look forward to working with you.
Absolutely. We thank Alan Fung for his great service too. Alan was a good friend as a mayor and now as lieutenant governor. So look forward to it.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Major.
Hey,
Always
man,
a
how are
pleasure.
you?
Always a pleasure to see you.
Same
I
here.
know that our city's nice and safe.
Check that out, Ken.
What is that?
All right. That's the Little League World Series shirt.
Oh, okay. Is that yours?
No, I wasn't that good.
I was at that first one that we played, representing the city as the athletic director. It was 40,000 people who were playing Taiwan, and the Goodyear blimp was over the Little League field. It was one of the best memories I've ever had, an athletic event.
Yeah,
Then when the
the-
kids came on the field, the whole crowd was chanting USA, USA. Pretty special.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Leanne, is Council Vice President Favicchio on?
He is not yet.
Okay. Just so everybody knows, I'm actually not feeling well tonight. So I asked Council Vice President to run the meeting in my stead. I'll be here listening and participating in the votes, but Council Vice President is going to run the meeting.
Hope you feel better, Mike.
Yeah, I do too. I wish I could have got a rapid COVID test with the hospital. With the holiday this week, there's basically none. So I just have to sit in my bedroom and kind of hope it passes.
Oh, feel better, man.
Good luck, Mike.
Yeah, feel better. Isolating, huh,
Thank
from the
you.
family?
Yeah, Michael has a temperature, so luckily he's a kid, so they'll give him a rapid tomorrow. So we keep him, he's isolated for today, but by tomorrow we'll know if he's straight. So we're assuming if he's good, then I'm good. But you know, I still got to quarantine.
There you go. It's the new norm nowadays. It's unfortunate.
It really is. I've been checking my temperature every couple hours. I got the pulse oximeter checking that every couple hours. It's a wild new norm.
Fluids. Drink lots of fluids.
Yep, lots of fluids, lots of vitamin water. It's big fun.
I'll take this time in case I forget to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving in case I don't get to do that to each and every one of you. Wish you a safe one as well with your loved ones.
The same
Thank
to you.
Ahmed. Same to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any leftover turkey, I don't cook anymore, so I'll be glad to have some.
If you give me the dessert, I'll give you the turkey. There we go. Even exchange.
No deals, kid.
Since this meeting, since we have some people waiting to speak, I'll start the meeting, take attendance, and then we can go into public comment. That way we can keep this moving. And then when Council Vice President Favicchio comes on, he can take the gavel from me. Because, it's about 7:05. We'll start the meeting. That way we can start the process. So with that, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Here.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Present.
Councilmember Vargas?
Present.
Councilmember Jermaine?
Present.
Councilmember Donegan?
Present.
Councilmember Brady?
Present.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Here.
Council Vice President Favicchio is on.
Present.
Karina?
Present.
Leanne,
And with,
Leanne, it's just saying Rep. Quattrucci is trying to get in. I don't know if you see that in the queue. Sorry, Mike. Thank you.
no worries, Ed. With that, I will turn the gavel over to Council Vice President Favicchio to continue the work of the evening.
Thank you, Council President. First, we have public hearings limited to docketed matters. I know we had some, Madam Clerk, did we have some written, submissions or no?
No.
No.
And I do not see Representative Quattrucci.
Okay. All right. And, all right, so we'll start with resolutions. Do we want, Mr. Brady, Councilman Brady, you wanted to allow the public speakers on, is it on your resolution?
Yes, that would be great. Council President, Acting Council President Favicchio. We have some guests here tonight that want to speak on behalf of our resolution as a council here, asking the governor to release 75 million of the CARES Act funds. We have Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee, who's been championing this effort, and I really appreciate him coming on the call tonight. He's been active out hand in hand with us as small business owners. He's invited me to his town hall. He's taken a 45-minute phone call with me and really answer a lot of my questions and the concerns of our entire industry. So I'd like to start off by giving him the opportunity to speak. If we can get Representative Quattrucci also in on the call, he's also looking to speak. We have some fellow small business owners, Ara, who owns Sonia's Deli here in Cranston. We have a friend, Tyler, who is the manager at PVD Pizza in Cranston. And I have a fellow server of mine, Crystal, who works for us at the Thirsty Beaver Cranston. We also have Chris Parisi and Mark Dion from the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition and the Lieutenant Governor's Small Business Advocacy Council. So I'd like to, let them all speak before I have the opportunity to speak on the resolution by starting off with Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee.
Okay, so what I'll do is we'll make this public hearing and it's on any docketed matter, so we'll cover all of them. So welcome, Lieutenant Governor McKee. It's a pleasure to have you with us. So we'll start off with you if you'd like to speak on any docketed item.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. And it's great to be invited to a municipal meeting like this as a former mayor and a member of a former town council member. Brings back good memories. So I thank each and every one of you for the work you're doing, in your community and making Cranston this great place to be and helping Rhode Island be, as good as it is. So I was in Cranston as I am visiting all the communities in the state of Rhode Island over the last 6 weeks, advocating for grants for our small businesses. And I was in Cranston about 2 weeks ago with Mayor Fung and visited more than a handful of businesses. And many of the businesses were not aware that the Restore Rhode Island grant was available. So the more that we make them aware, the more money gets out to the communities. I think that right now there's at least $20 million available on the first $50 million that we were able to get to the governor to appropriate out of the CARES Act money. And the CARES Act money are federal dollars that come to the state. And then the state, the guidelines of those federal dollars allow the state to distribute those in grants, in the form of grants to small businesses in the state of Rhode Island. So right now, what we're advocating for is another 75 million for a total of 125 million to be put in that Rhode Island Restore Rhode Island grant program, so that every community in the state, including Cranston, can help their businesses. And in addition to that, because of the pause that's coming, we're asking the governor to put another 75 million in to help the businesses that are being closed, and also help the families that are going to be laid off as a result of the pause. So I thank the council for the opportunity to be here. I'll leave it at that, but I know the small businesses need cash and they need it now. And we're trying to make sure that the governor hears that message loud and clear. And I encourage you to pass this resolution that Councilman Brady put on the docket for this evening, because I think the message that comes from a community, a second largest community in the state of Rhode Island, is going to resonate, through the governor's office as being an important resolution to consider as they ask, as we ask for more dollars to be appropriated from those federal dollars to help our small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. If Rep. Quattrucci is here, I don't see him on the screen. We can always come back to him if he's able to.
He's saying passcode is invalid. I don't know if I can give him any assistance in joining, but that's the update.
Okay, well, the clerk might be able to work on that while we go on. We'll try to get through as many people as we can.
Okay.
Mr. Janesian, are you ready to speak?
You're on mute, Ara.
You're on mute.
How about now?
Good.
Excellent.
You're good. Go ahead.
Really, first of all, thank you for having us. Ed has been a longtime friend. He told me about it. I'm extremely interested, and I want to at least get our point across. This is my mother, Sonia. She's a long-time Cranston business owner, 38 years.
I've been in business 37 years. We have been in Cranston for 28 of those years. So I'm in for the long haul.
So I think we just want to, the point we want to get across is how imperative it is to push this initiative through the $75 million. Our biggest thing is we talk to many small business owners, especially in Cranston, all the time, and everyone kind of has the same sentiment. It's we're not trying to make money from the grants. We need to pay our bills, and we keep hearing that people want to help and they're going to help, and we're just waiting when, because mortgages come due, rent comes due, payroll comes due, taxes, they're not deferred, insurance, and it just seems like there's no light at the end of the tunnel.
Snowballs.
Yeah, and it snowballs into bigger problems every week. And while we're fortunate to be in business, fortunate to have our health, the other thing I want to say is we don't want to downplay the severity of the issue of the virus. We actually, in fact, both had it in March. It's not a picnic. So we understand we want to do our part as a small business. I actually talk to many small business owners. Everyone kind of feels the same way. We're willing to close down, willing to accept the rules and regulations they put forth, but we're not getting anything in return. We're getting promises in return, but coming at the pause, we're gonna, I don't know what it is. I didn't even look into it. I think 5 or 10 people I can allow in the store. Well, that's going to severely impact our business during the busiest time of the year. So we're hoping, we're almost, like Ed said it perfectly, we're begging, we're pleading that we'll do our part, but we need some assistance on the back end from the government. And, that's just how we feel. I don't know if you want to say anything else.
Well, the assistance that, on a personal note, that I got, and I'm not even speaking for our deli, but it literally, we're 75% down in revenue. And today I had 3 employees on, 3 payrolled employees, and we had 0 sales. And just to keep the overhead going, the money that I got from Rhode Island Commerce was literally a Band-Aid for 2 weeks of my overhead. 2 weeks. Now we're in this for many, many months, and I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're trying our best not only to keep our overhead and our payroll on, but we have inventory too. So we're in a different situation. I just wish that, things were case by case. They should do the severity of the businesses, not only how many you have on payroll, but how much revenue you've lost. And when we we were literally 95% down. And we've slowly climbed up. Now we're 75% down.
Yeah.
You know, if we stay at that level, we don't know how long we're going to retain.
So our purpose for being here is, number one, we want to listen, because this is obviously something that we're interested in. So we want to listen to all of you. We just wanted to say our part. The other thing that we feel strongly about is, and I don't know if we've talked to a lot of people that all kind of felt the same. I've even seen it on social media, people talk about it. Small business in Rhode Island is going through, well, around the country, but especially in Rhode Island, is going through such a hard time. Why is the paperwork to get grants or to get anything done, why is it so difficult to accomplish or even understand? So we have to be at our businesses because we need to create sales, try to keep the business afloat. But instead, we're in the office or at home 5-6 hours, 2-3 days trying to fill out paperwork.
Yep.
And the questions that are on the grant forms, or I'm not sure what the forms are called.
Well, you have to be real tech savvy. And it was, I know we managed to do it. I did it in my office for both businesses, but I can't even comprehend how other small businesses that don't have the skill set that we may have, how did they put it all together?
So that was something that was really difficult to understand, why the paperwork was so complex and why it was so difficult to understand. And luckily, we're fortunate enough to have gotten it done and to be able to understand. But there's a lot of small businesses that can't, and that it's truly not fair. So that's really it. Again, we appreciate you having us, and we're looking forward to
Hope for better times ahead.
That's it. Good to see you,
Thank
Todd.
Thank you so much for speaking, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, we'll go to Tyler next, I guess, if is Tyler there?
There are two Tylers. I don't know which one. There was two.
From the pizza place, from the
I can give you his phone number. Does that help you, Leanne?
I just added a Tyler Fontaine.
Yes, that's him. Yep. Okay. Tyler, can you hear us?
Tyler,
I can hear you.
All
Yep,
right.
the floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you?
Oh, sorry. I apologize. Yeah, I couldn't, it wasn't registering on my end. Appreciate your patience with that, guys. A couple things. Thanks for the invite, Ed Brady. Really glad to be here. Like you said, I work for PVD Pizza. I used to work at Thirsty Beaver. It's just, to everybody's point, there's a lot of things going on, and the severity of COVID is super important health-wise. That's a given. People are literally dying. Totally understand that. My mother runs the COVID unit at Roger Williams. So when I say I get it, I really do. And I feel for everybody that's experienced it either personally or, by proxy, or to anybody that's working with it. That being said, a lot of the things that are happening right now are going to set a precedence. So what's going to happen next time? Because something's going to happen again, whether it's COVID or the next disease or virus or whatever it is, this is going to occur again. So if we have these protocols that either aren't being followed, or there's funds that aren't being dispersed, or there's 30 pieces of red tape to make sure that people's livelihoods can stay intact, I don't see how we're going to be in a proper position to handle this later on, never mind handling it today. And business owners around here seem to be forced with choosing between their personal livelihoods and their professional livelihoods. And those go hand in hand. Obviously health is paramount, living a good life and doing the right things. But at the same time, if you have nothing left when you come back, then what? Then what do? You see people's businesses who are closing after years and years and years and years. It's literally their life's work, and it's just, they can't get funding, or their paperwork is too long, or they don't qualify for it. And I'm not completely versed on this, but I see the struggle, and I see people talking about it, and I see businesses closing, and it brings a level of fear almost as to, okay, well, this is why we have elected officials, right? Like, this is why these people are in these positions and why we have protocols and whatnot. And if we don't handle this properly, again, what's going to happen next time? Who are we going to turn to? What are we going to do? Then the first lockdown comes, businesses close, it's not a problem, everybody understands, some money goes out, okay, well, we're here now, and now it's months later, and now it's okay, round two, and everybody's been talking about it, and we know we're going to do round two, and here we are. If we knew that this was coming, why is it still such a difficult thing for these business owners to get funding or to get money injected into the economy in this manner to allow people to sustain certain businesses? When you drop to 33% capacity and things like that, it's not worth them staying open. I forget who mentioned it, but she's paying payroll for these employees and things like that, and that comes with, if you're a business owner, you're not just paying payroll, you're paying the insurance for it, you're paying the benefits for it, you're paying the taxes for it. And it's really, it's just difficult. And we have this lack of trust with the government and with everybody, in general, in terms of the country, but even on a local level, we turn to these people as our leaders for guidance for this reason. Like, that is the career path that they would chose to go down. And now we're in the position where it's like, hey, what do we do? What's next? And it's like, oh, we'll just turn everything off. All right, again, for everybody's health, totally fair. That's the right thing to do. Health is priority, 100%. At the same time, how do we supplement to not let the economy die and not let people's businesses close? And I just want to, we live in the moment as it's fluid, it's happening. But I want to forward and future pace a little. This is the moment that people are going to be talking about in a decade. Like, when people look back, when this happens again, people will look back and say, well, this is how Rhode Island handled it. This is how Cranston handled it. These are the people who spoke out. These are the people that stepped up. History will remember this and how this pans out in the textbooks, in the voting booths, everywhere. This is not going to be it blows over and everybody forgets about it. Like, this is happening right now. And there are businesses closing. And if there's funding available that can allow people to maintain their livelihoods, put food on the table for their families, allow business owners to be able to close and still be able to come back and do business in a month, 2 months after the holidays, however it falls, that has to be an option. And if it's not an option, then I totally understand these businesses that are coming out and saying, well, no, we're going to stay open. We're going to do whatever we want, blah, blah, blah. That's not necessarily the best thing to do, especially for the health of the nation or for our state, nonetheless. But what else are they supposed to do? So, I mean, I don't have every solution in the world. And again, this is just one person's take. Everybody's making really good points. Again, Ed Brady, I appreciate you bringing me into this. I'm able to speak with all of you guys. Very eager to hear what everybody else has to say as well. But I just really want to urge that and make sure that everybody grasps that. And if there is something that can be done, it has to be done. And it has to be done quickly and swiftly. The longer this gets dragged out, the more businesses are being hurt, more people's livelihoods are being hurt, more people are getting sick. And we have to get on the ball with it. This is the reason people are elected. Like, for this moment, this is why we have leaders, and this is where we look to in order to, make a change and see what is the next best step.
Thank you, Tyler. Ron, do you need name and address? Do you have name and addresses for the speakers? Or?
Get that from Rose. I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Crystal.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
All right. Hey, Ed. First off, I want to say thank you for inviting me into the meeting. I really appreciate it, Ed. So I want to formally introduce myself. My name is Crystal Nicole. I've worked at the Thirsty Beaver for almost 4 years now. Usually I wouldn't speak up on a matter like this, but I do feel like it's important to see someone else's point of view, a server point of view. First off, I'm a single mother of 3. We've been following the governor's rules every way we can to try and help stop this spreading of this virus. And every direction we turn, I feel like our business is just going down. After every conference, it's like a ghost town in there, and I feel really bad. The business has been dying. I'm at a complete loss for words because we have followed every rule by the governor and the health department. Everyone wears a mask. The staff sanitize their hands constantly. We have sanitized stations near the bathroom, near the kitchen, right next to a table. We wipe down the tables constantly, the plexiglass. We hand out COVID slips to every customer that walks in the door. We have masks on hand for customers who approach the building without wearing a mask. If we see a guest get up from a table without wearing a mask, we kindly ask them to please put it back on to help, not spread the virus. We are trying our best to not spread this virus, and I understand that more and more people are getting it, but I don't feel like our business is what's spreading it, because we are trying our best to not. Maybe some restaurants don't follow the rules, and I understand that's why we're getting hit hard with this, but it's a tough time right now. At this point, I feel like we're being targeted. We are losing our bar seating next week. We are going down to 33% capacity, and at this point, I feel like it's impossible for businesses to manage. Like, they're better off just closing than they are staying open, because like everyone said, they have bills, they have employees, all of our hours are getting cut right before the holiday. I don't understand how at a 33% capacity, anybody can support their family. Servers get paid $3.89 an hour. We work off tips, and at 33% and losing the bar area, which, the owners paid a lot of money for the plexiglass that they put up in order to stop the contact issue. And again, for some reason, we're losing that seating, which holds about 25 people. They put the plexiglass there for a reason, to help increase the revenue. And it did. For a while, it did. But now going back to the 33% and losing the bar seating, and then we can only have the 33%, and then outside doesn't count. But it's really cold outside and nobody wants to sit outside. So at this point, the businesses are at a loss. Due to these restrictions, there's lack of business staffing hours. We're being caught right before the holiday. We're being chosen between senior staff and who's gonna fight over hours for the next few weeks until we can get a hold of this. The restaurant businesses, they will fail without the government help. And, everyone is pleading because they've worked hard. Ed he's been going through a lot. Everybody's had their issues with their family. I've had family members who had COVID. It's a really big situation. The virus is very, very serious, but we're doing all that we can to help not spread it. And I feel like at this point, somebody has to speak up for the extra funding, because I would hate to see come December 31st, the money just be gone. Everybody loses out. There's a chance that our business will fail and I won't have a job to go back to. I have bills. Other servers have bills there. I have a friend there who might lose her house. She just signed for a house. And if she doesn't make any money, she can't close on that house anymore. So it's really frustrating to see the restrictions that are going up. It's hard to see people going through this hard time. I feel like we should all be sticking together in this. We're a community. We should speak for the people, the business owners. The first time around, a lot of businesses didn't open up. They didn't reopen because they didn't have the money to fund their business during the time that they were out. And when they reopened, there was no customers. We have a lot of restrictions that we do have to follow, and I do agree with that. But at the same time, if we're following the restrictions and the numbers are still rising, there has to be a different cause. There has to be a different way than to do 33% capacity, lose bar area, or even the funding would help. Maybe, help pay some bills, help pay for staff, like she said. At this point, we're begging. We're begging for it because we need help. It's a very big issue. At this point, if businesses are closing, people are going to stop filing for unemployment. mothers, single mothers like myself, we're going to be forced to go on state assistance. I've never been on state assistance, no cash assistance, food stamps. I've worked since I've had my kids, and I would really hate to like be in a situation where I have to, like, it would literally make me feel really sad to like go on state assistance. Like, I've never seen myself going on something like that. I've worked, and I would continue to work as long as I have a job. But at this point, the way it's looking is that these businesses are going to close, and people like myself, we're going to be, how am I going to support my family and pay my bills and still be able to do the things that, you know, my kids deserve, a holiday? We're getting shut down right before Christmas. And this is the busiest time of year where I should be able to like save money and buy my kids presents. And now I'm worrying about if I can even afford to buy my kids presents or like put food on the table. I have to make a choice. And it's really sad because I'm not the only one in this situation. You know, there's neighborhood businesses right around, and all the servers, they're all in the same boat. It's not like we get an hourly rate. At this point, that 33% losing bar area, I feel like the health department comes every 30 days and we pass our inspection every 30 days. So I don't understand why we are being targeted to this point where these restrictions are mainly towards the restaurants. You know, people are having house parties and they're not following these rules, and that's why COVID is increasing. People still have to work. We still have to, you know, we still have to live our life. We can wear the mask, we can sanitize the hands and everything, but we have to target the people that are not following the rules. There has to be a different consequences than to just pinpoint the business. And I think at this point, like, businesses, they're fighting for the extra money because they would hate to lose their employees. They would hate to turn people down and tell them, you know, there's no longer a job once December comes because they didn't have the funding. They didn't have the money to support their business in the time where they really need them most. The lack of business due to not having the funding is really gonna mess up with people's lives. And I feel everybody. I understand Ed's view, my view, all the business owners. That's why I'm here today, because you guys see one point of view and you guys see what's going on, but it's different when you go out to eat and you see these people that are really, really working hard, and you don't really know the pain that they're actually going through because of this virus. It's like, it's really, really bad. And I feel like if the businesses get the funding that they need, then a lot of people will be better off. Like, a lot of people will not lose their jobs. A lot of people will be able to have Christmas with their kids, be able to pay their bills. You know, businesses will be able to pay their bills, which will keep them open. But if they don't get the funding, it's probably better off that they close, because they're going to be paying more money to try and keep the business open with no revenue. And at that point, you're
Can
digging.
you wrap it up, Crystal?
Yeah.
We
Sorry
have a
about
few
that.
more. That's
Oh,
okay.
I'm done. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
We usually try to keep them to 4 minutes, but I know this is a really tough subject. So next on the list, we have Chris Parisi.
Yep.
Are you there, Chris?
I am here. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Councilman Brady, for adopting this resolution. I am Chris Parisi from the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition. So you go to www.rismallbusiness.org to learn a little bit more, but we're an advocacy group for small businesses throughout the state of Rhode Island. We're the ones that drafted up the petition along with the Lieutenant Governor's office that forced the governor's hand to first initially release that $50 million for the Restore RI grant. So I'm here today to explain where our position is in fighting for additional funds for our small businesses. As of October 30th, there was $800 million remaining out of that $1.25 billion coronavirus relief funds that we've been talking about. So $800 million left as of October 30th. That means we have 38 days in order to spend it or return it back to the feds. Now, as a small business owner myself, and hearing from all these other small business owners and employees, you know, that makes folks very upset that they've had hundreds of $millions held on to while we certainly needed it. So what our ask is simple. Lieutenant Governor McKee has mentioned it, 75 million in additional funds through the Restore RI grant. Get it out fast, get it out simple. But we need to include all small businesses. Some businesses currently do not qualify if they opened up in 2020 or if they're in certain industries. We feel it should be inclusive of all small businesses. And we also feel it shouldn't be just based on number of employees. It should be based on fixed expenses so we could stay afloat. I know the first small business mentioned, the grant that they got only paid for a sliver of what their expenses are. Where we want to stay afloat. So we need the fixed expenses, the rent, the utilities, so that we can stay alive. And we're not asking for a bailout, right? We're asking to just stay alive and let us fight as we continue to do. We're also requesting an additional 75 million in funds allocated to businesses and their affected employees that are forced to shut down or are further restricted due to the pause and further lockdown. So our stance is straightforward. If the government is mandating a business to shut down or be restricted, they must immediately be ready to support that business financially. No one asked for this pandemic. The state didn't, the government did, this world didn't, we didn't either as small business owners. And like many have said, we'll follow the rules to contain this health crisis, but we got to do it in a common sense way. We got to focus on efforts on where this virus is originating and not necessarily put other businesses in harm as well. So with that original 50 million that we have through the Restore RI grant, and just want to make sure everyone knows there's a Restore RI grant through Commerce Rhode Island today to apply for if you have not already. We're asking for additional 150. That would be 15% of that 1.25 billion. So that's what I had to say, but I do have to say, after listening to some other small business owners, and we have thousands of businesses in our coalition, but some of the same folks are the ones talking, and to hear some news stories is really heartbreaking and motivating. I mean, we need to do everything we can so that we appreciate the city of Cranston picking up this resolution, listening to the coalition and listening to their community, their small businesses, because we're in it together. It doesn't matter if you're left or right. It doesn't matter if you're a small business owner or an employee. We have to all come together and demand what we need, because as we all know, small businesses are the backbone of our economy, especially for a state of Rhode Island. It's the fabric within our society. And if we continue to just let the small businesses fail, we'll forever change our economy. Big businesses will be bigger, small businesses will be forgotten, and we cannot let that happen. We must demand that the governor release those coronavirus funds, release that CARES Act funds to small businesses in the form of an additional 75 million. And if we have further restrictions, and we already have the pause coming, release another 75 million that not only is allocated towards the small businesses, but the staff, the employees, the folks that have their families that need to put food on their table. We ask to support them as well so that we can survive this pandemic. And then we'll continue to fight and be the entrepreneurs that we are and survive through this. Thank you for everyone for listening. Thank you for Councilman Brady for inviting me. And thank you for the City of Cranston's Council for listening to us and all the community today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parisi. Mr. Dion, Mark Dion.
Thank you, Mr. President, for having me here. I'm a former Cranston resident. As a matter of fact, I went to high school with Councilman Brady's mom. So, and I actually worked for the city of Cranston, City Hall, many, many years ago. So I'm kind of proud of what you guys have done, because you're the first municipality to pass a resolution that actually addresses the needs of small business. So let me go back in time, and I'm going to be really quick. The state got 1.25 billion from the federal government to address the coronavirus, we initially asked for only 10% to go to small businesses, which would have been 125 million. Months later, not only did we not get the 10%, we got $50,000, and we got an application process that was worse than any of the federal programs, EIDL or PPP loans in the universe. And they asked for things that nobody in the world ever asked for. And most poor Rhode Island residents couldn't facilitate applying for those grants. The second thing being is when you applied for the grant, the state of Rhode Island didn't care what your fixed operating expenses were. Your rent could be $12,000 a month. They didn't care. They gave you money based upon how many employees you had. So the hospitality industry being the second largest industry in the state of Rhode Island, if you figure it all out, bartenders, waitresses, they're not working 40 hours a week. So you have to combine them all to figure out how many FTEs you have. So you may have 40 people working for you, but only 9 FTEs. The state didn't care that your mortgage or your rent was $12,000 a month. They gave you money based upon how many employees you had. Now, the state of Rhode Island only allocated $50 million back in June. They still have $20 million left in their fund. They can't give this money away because it's too difficult to get. The application process is cumbersome. But when they did the latest shutdown of restaurants, they did a one-page application for restaurants. None of the requirements were there, and you could immediately get $10,000. But the initial grant program was reams and reams of documents. In last year's tax return, this year's tax return, a DUNS number, which nobody ever required a DUNS number for a federal grant ever before. So I have worked with over 150 companies gratis. Not that I'm wealthy, but I know how the process works. I assist people free of charge. One of the reasons is because I'm on the Lieutenant Governor's Small Business Advocacy Council. The other reason is because I'm on the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition, and I want to help Rhode Island companies. And I will tell you, if you went to Vermont, you went to New Hampshire, out of the federal COVID funds under the CARES Act that they've got, both of those states have given out in excess of $400 million to the small businesses in Vermont and New Hampshire. Think about what the population is in Vermont or New Hampshire. It's not that much greater than what it is in the state of Rhode Island. But what did the state of Rhode Island do? They put out a pittance of $50 million, and they made it so difficult to get that you can't get it. So I applaud Councilman Brady. I applaud the city council and the city of Cranston for being the first municipality to say, put up and give us what is ours. Because when you shut a business down, it's not the business's fault that they're being regulated and shut down. The least you can do, don't give them a little token payment for how many employees they have. They've got mortgages, they've got insurance, they've got utility bills, they've got lease payments that they have to pay. At some point in time, consider what their operating expenses are. So 10 points to the city of Cranston for actually standing up and saying, let's support our small businesses because that's what's needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dion. Very well said. Anyone else to speak on docketed matters? All right. Hearing or seeing none, we'll close that portion. We'll go to the resolutions. Councilman Brady, would you like to have that taken out of order, or do you mind following?
Sure, if the council doesn't mind, that would be great.
Yeah, I guess we would need a motion to take it out of order.
I can wait. I know it's,
Motion to take it out of order.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio?
Yes.
Council President Farina?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to take resolution urging Governor Raimondo to release $150 million from the CARES Act to our small business community, sponsored by council members Brady and Paplaskas. Entertain a
Motion to approve.
Motion to
Second.
approve. I have a second. Under discussion.
Mike, do you mind if I
No.
speak up?
Go right
You know,
ahead. Response.
First of all, I really appreciate the Lieutenant Governor for coming on our call tonight and the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition. Obviously, they've been championing this effort on a state level for months now, and their fight and them standing hand in hand and they're listening is truly powerful and inspiring for me as a small business owner. And it gives me motivation to continue to get out that message to our small business community who desperately needs our help now. I also want to obviously thank our fellow speakers in Crystal, Ara, and Tyler, who also came on and gave some very compelling and emotional testimony that obviously, the rest of the council has heard. And these are phone calls that we're having with the entire small business community, with servers, with the hospitality industry, with fellow small business owners that are desperately asking for a plan. Our revenue and our mandates are continue to be increased on a daily basis. Our revenues are going down. For a lot of us, it makes a lot more sense to close the doors, but we also understand the impacts of this virus and the impacts of putting food on the table for our servers and our fellow employees and getting through the holiday season. So we're remaining open at a loss. I also want to thank obviously my fellow councilors who co-sponsored this bill, and Councilman Paplaskas and Councilwoman Vargas, to make this a bipartisan effort and put party aside. This is not about Democrats, Republicans. This is about winning this war against COVID. Obviously these funds, the $75 million from the CARES Act, are not funds that are supposed to be used to balance our state budget. It's time to get back to work, get some checks and balances on the governor, and this $1.25 billion needs to be released back into our economy now, so that obviously these small businesses can survive and have businesses to go back to. If we don't release these funds now, then obviously tough government cuts are going to have to be made in March, April, May, when these businesses are out of business and not paying tax revenue and dollars coming back into our cities and towns and at our state level. I can't say how many sleepless nights I've had as a small business owner, as a public official, as a mother who works for the Department of Health. And I also have access to just her pain and her suffering and seeing the amount of deaths that are happening in this community. Obviously, COVID-19 was not established by the governor, and everyone is doing their best job to control this virus. We don't know how to control the virus. All we're simply asking is, and begging and pleading for, is survival. So I ask my fellow councilors today to support this resolution, and hopefully we'll be the first community and not the last here in the state of Rhode Island to continue to put the pressure on to get these funds released to our small business community. Thank you.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Councilman Paplaskas was the other sponsor, then Councilman Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Council Vice President. I'll try to keep my comments very brief. I know we had a lot of sponsors tonight. First of all, I want to thank Councilman Brady for taking the lead on this on the city side, and Lieutenant Governor McKee for taking the lead on this for the state. This funding needs to be released. It's not a nice to have, it's a need to have. Businesses are dying every day. I get calls every day from businesses in our community that are struggling to get by. I mean, just today, I got notice that Spirito's Restaurant in Ward 5 on Plainfield Pike closed their doors. They can't make it with COVID. Greg and Dave ran a wonderful operation there, and it was a great restaurant, and they're gone. Maybe if this funding came a little sooner, we'd keep them in the city and keep them open. we got to do something. Everybody's working hard. This is the time of the year where you make up your money to get you through the spring and get you to next season. And we're missing the busiest time of the year for everybody, not just in the restaurant industry. This has affected every business. I talked to many different types of businesses, and everybody's affected from the top down. So I will certainly be voting for this tonight. Thank you, Councilman Brady, for taking the lead on this and letting me be a co-sponsor. And to Lieutenant Governor McKee, keep up the fight. Don't stop till we get the funding, because we need it. Thank you.
Councilman and Mayor-elect Hopkins.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I want to congratulate my fellow Councilman Brady and Vargas and Councilman Poplawskis for the passion that they put into this. The fact that we need this, our community needs it. I love the fact that Cranston is going to lead the charge along with Lieutenant Governor McKee. Thank you so much for your help on this. I'm extremely excited and passionate about this myself, and I would love to be a co-sponsor. And I would encourage every other member of this committee, this city council, to also sponsor this as well. And I congratulate Councilman Brady, and just want you to know how proud I am to serve with you.
Thank you, Councilman. I might as well at this juncture.
Thank you,
ask,
Mayor. That means a lot. I appreciate it.
how many would all the council like to be added as co-sponsors? Let me ask that
Yes.
question now. I'm sure that the answer is yes. So if you don't mind, Councilman Brady and Councilman Poplawskis, I think all of us would like to be added.
Yeah, Councilwoman Vargas was also a sponsor. We would
And
love that.
Councilwoman, I'm sorry, I'll ask your permission as well. Great. So Madam Clerk, you can add all of us as sponsors. Who's next? Who wants to speak from the council next?
Chairman, if I may.
Yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman.
Thank you. First and foremost, thank you to each and every one of the callers and business owners that took the time to call in this evening. I'm sure there would have definitely have been many, but obviously it's 7, 8 o'clock at night. Some of them are working within their business, making sure that they continue to move forward. There's obviously businesses that are drowning, some who have already unfortunately drowned, and some of which those who are drowning, right? It's as elected officials, as a state, as a city, we should all be throwing lifesavers at them and trying to find out what are their available grants and possible funding, and how can we help these businesses survive and keep it going. Absolutely, I agree and echo each and every word that Councilmember Brady said, as well as previous council members that also spoke with us have spoken this evening, in addition to the folks who also called in and expressed their concerns. My pain really goes out to all the business owners, in addition to many others, of which we'll be hearing a resolution as well, who are either losing their homes or being evicted. But nonetheless, that is in a way a ripple effect of even business owners, right? If we have business owners who can't survive, who can't put food on their table, who are not able to get enough, whether it's funding or businesses or there's restrictions granted, absolutely, I agree. COVID is obviously spiking. We see that. But at the same time, I'm here to try to lend a hand as much as I can for the businesses in our community. And it's regardless of party lines. This is about making sure that we as a city are able not only to listen to the business members or local business of our community, but find ways and creative, innovative ways to continue to move the city forward with their local businesses. And when I say local business, even in Cranston, honestly, for me, it's throughout the entire state. And I want to thank Lieutenant Governor for being on the call this evening as well and taking the time and speaking on his efforts. We have great organizations. We have organizations like Commerce RI who have also been working diligently on trying to put together a hotline. And we have organizations like United Way as well, where businesses can actually reach out in hopes that there is some sort of connection. I would hope to make sure that the process that has been mentioned, that is not as easy, but that wondering, what ways, shape or form we possibly help out if we possibly even can on that end. But nonetheless, I'm not going to keep going because everything's all right. I'm pretty much going to be echoing the sentiments of everybody else who has spoken, both the council and the business owners and employees. And, we're here to work together. And so I think that's the reason why I decided to be partnering up with Councilmember Brady and Councilmember Papalaskis on this initiative to make sure that we continue to move or allocate those additional millions of dollars from the CARE Act funds to the Restore RI grant programs for small business owners. So,
Councilwoman, if you
very
don't
much.
mind, also maybe this would be a good time to plug our, our Zoom call tomorrow.
Oh, sure. So I asked the council as well as businesses and anybody else who's here, whether it's Rhode Island Small Business Organization, I'll definitely do a quick plug, but tomorrow evening at 6 p.m., Councilmember Brady and I have partnered up with the Rhode Island Commerce and their assistant director, Supply RI, will be there, and she'll be able to talk about the available funds to our local businesses. There's been over 2,200 businesses that have already received funding totaling more than that 30 million through the Restore RI grant program. What RI Commerce is going to do is provide a presentation and be able to talk a little bit about the programs, but also the Q&As where there's been questions. If what can I apply for 3 or 4 other grants if I already applied for 1, 2, 3 weeks ago? And so they can provide some of those responses to those questions, but it's really an info session that I'm working with Councilmember Brady, and I ask each and every one of you to share that information out to your prospective business community in hopes that, there's some businesses who haven't heard about the grant, and we can't assume that everybody's heard about the available grants that are out there. And so if we can try to at least get the word out, I think that's a great initiative on our end, and to share that information. So thank you, Councilman Brady. And thanks to the city as well, who's been sharing that information out to their listing.
Thank you, Councilmember Vargas. Anyone else? Councilman Stichels?
Yes, I support this resolution, obviously, and would also urge everyone to support small business with your purchases. Instead of going to the big stores or the small local stores, consider gift certificates, and we can make a small contribution that way. But more importantly, I'd like to suggest this resolution doesn't say where it's going to be sent. And I think we should add a line that says, be it resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to Governor Raimondo and each of the town councils or city council in the state of Rhode Island. So
That's great feedback. Thank you, Councilman. That's great feedback.
If I can piggyback on that, we should, aside from the governor, if possible, we could just send it to our Cranston delegation representatives as well, state reps elect as well, and senators. I think that would be an added bonus to piggyback on Councilman Steve's suggestion. Sorry.
But so I'll make that motion for copy to be sent to the governor, the Cranston legislative delegation, and each town council in the state or city.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Vecchio?
Yes.
Council President Farina?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Jermaine, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. So I want to say thank you to Council Brady and Council Papalaskis Vargas to initiate this resolution. I'm wholeheartedly support this resolution, and I will take this moment to say to the governor's office that would be a shame to not release this money, and we have a deadline coming up, and we need the money. The small business need the money, and to keep it that will be a shame. So I hope they take notes and to release this money to the businesses who need this money. And I want to say hi to my friend Sonia, and we know each other someplace, so we need to support our small business. Good to see you here, Sonia. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Any other council members like to speak? All right. Anyone? All right, I'll throw my 2 cents in, I guess, if everyone else has spoken. I think I want to thank Councilman Brady, Councilman Paplaskas, and Councilmember Vargas for doing this. I think it's vitally important as a small business owner myself. You know, it's a professional service. I see it. I see your side of it, Mr. Councilman Brady, from the restaurant industry, which I think is the hardest hit. But even the professional service industry, we're all feeling it because it's so difficult. You know, the technological requirements have expanded greatly now with this situation. It's so hard not to deal with people when you're in that type of business, and even in, you know, accountants, lawyers. You know, I know it's difficult. People are afraid to meet with you. It's just a very difficult environment to work in, and it's changing the way we're going to do business in the future. But I fear that the next 6 to 8 weeks could be very difficult financially for a lot of us, especially with this with the partial lockdown that we're going to face the next couple of weeks, right into the holidays. So I think releasing some of this money to give small businesses a chance at survival, because that really is all we're doing, is we're going to give them an opportunity to survive. We're all going to have to work very hard to accomplish that. But I think, you know, Cranston's always been in the forefront of innovation, and I think we'll continue to do that. So I will absolutely support it. Anyone else from the council? We've kind of closed public comment, but Mr. Dion, I'll let you, I know you wanted to add something.
I just wanted to give a little clue into Councilman Brady and Councilman Vargas. When you meet with Commerce tomorrow on their call, when they restructured the grant program a while ago, they said that people that had previously received grants were eligible to double those grants. They never reached out to the original recipients of the grants, and almost none of them have received the doubling amount. Why didn't they just send out checks for the same amount for the original grant that they got, equaling the doubling of the grant amount? You can ask him that question, because when the lieutenant governor travels from city to city, he asked the people if they were aware if there was a grant program, and most of them say no. And if they did get a grant, they weren't aware that they could have doubled their grant by just applying again. And why didn't Commerce Corp just send out a check for the same amount that they had originally given? No need to fill out any form. How come they didn't do that?
I'll make sure to ask that tomorrow.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Ed.
All right, thank you. And I don't know if Lieutenant Governor McKee left, but I just wanted to thank him. I think that's the first time in my 10 years that we've had someone from that office or higher appear at one of our meetings. So it was an honor. Any further discussion on the motion? We have a motion as amended on the floor. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Vecchio?
Yes.
Council President Farina?
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes. Next, we have a resolution urging.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. Next, we have a resolution urging the Rhode Island governor to place a moratorium on evictions, sponsored by Councilmember Vargas. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Vargas, would you like to speak on this?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So this is pretty, I'd like to say it's a pretty straightforward resolution, but quite honestly, the details of the language is something that is extremely of importance to me. And right now, the moratorium that has to do with the rent and mortgage assistance ends December 31st, just right during the holiday season. And we just heard before us businesses that are struggling, and employers of the businesses who, are pretty much asking for help, and that may have to go even on some sort of assistance in order to keep their house afloat. And so if someone is impacted because of the COVID-19 crisis, and whether you're an employee of a company who's laid you off, or whether it's a business that is owner that's being impacted, it's really a ripple effect into your monthly rent, into your mortgage. And so for that reason, I had reached out to the Latino Policy Institute, Roger Williams University, who actually ended up putting together some studies on this. And as a result of that, the 2020 Houseworks Fact Book provided me with statistics that I've included in this resolution that pretty much states that in Rhode Island, there's over 70% of the renters are Latino, and 28%, over 70% of Latinos are renters and 28% are homeowners. And Black non-Latino, 67% renters are renters and 33% are homeowners, and 52% are Asian renters, and 47 are homeowners. And in addition to that stats, as far as white non-Latino, that is not on there, and I should have added it, is that there's 67% are homeowners and 32.8% are renters. And again, this is data that I'm grabbing from the 2020 Housing Works Fact Books. So what this resolution and entail is asking is urging the Rhode Island governor to place a moratorium on evictions and to release those additional federal stimulus money for those emergency rental mortgages. This is very similar to the previous resolution that we just also encouraged the releasing of those funds. And the resolution is also obviously asking us to send copies of this resolution, if it passes this evening, to our Cranston representatives as well. So we're living in a crisis. I'm not going to pretty much echo what was pretty much said earlier, but it kind of goes hand in hand with what's taking place and happening today. This is extremely important, and I hate to really see someone lose their home, not being able to put their head on their pillow at night and be able to rest. And so I have to actually give a quick plug for anyone that's listening, or even to each and every one of you, in case you happen to have constituencies who are asking, where do I go if I need some sort of funding and on eviction or rent? And even though courts are pretty much on hold at this time, that eviction process or moratorium still ends December 31st. United Way has about $7 million right now to assist with past due rent in order to prevent evictions. And so this is for families who are behind in the rent for up to, say, the last 6 months or so due to COVID, and it's available for landlords and tenants. But nonetheless, with these organizations that are putting out information and providing these fundings, I still am asking and putting a call to the governor to issue in order placing a moratorium on the evictions and to release additional funding for emergency rental assistance. I think everybody deserves a home. Everyone deserves a safe and warm home. And it's not their fault that we're in this COVID-19 pandemic. It's none of our fault. So I ask and my fellow colleagues here on the council to vote on this resolution that's extremely important for not just the residents of the city of Cranston, but also for the state. Thank you.
Councilman Hopkins.
Thank you, Chairman. If you don't mind, Councilwoman Vargas, I'd like to co-sponsor this with you. And I thank you for taking the time and the energy for bringing this up to us. And I would expect and hope that everybody would be supporting this tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you. I do welcome each and every one of you to be listed as a co-sponsor if you wish.
Any other council members? Councilman
I would
Donegan.
love to. Yeah, I would love to.
Me as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lamas.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Councilman Donegan.
I was just going to say, I'd love to be added as a co-sponsor if Councilwoman Vargas would permit, and I appreciate her bringing this up again. I know the council, I think unanimously approved a similar resolution much earlier this year, and I appreciate Councilwoman Vargas bringing it up again with the expiration coming up soon, and I hope that this will pass unanimously here tonight, because there are, as we all know, many people in our community that are struggling and facing eviction. And I think to evict someone from their home during a public health crisis is immoral, in my opinion. So I hope this passes.
Thank
Any
you.
other members
Absolutely.
like to speak on this issue? I had a couple of questions for you, Councilmember Vargas. While I agree in principle what you're suggesting, a couple of things. As you know, I tend to represent many Hispanic and African American homeowners, not necessarily the renters, but and one of the products of this whole thing has been that there's no guarantee that if someone gets rental assistance that they're actually paying the rent, and the ripple effect is that the homeowner is now facing foreclosure with regard to that multifamily home, because the tenants feel that don't have to pay, even when the $600 extra payment was made. I don't know that the money ever made it to the homeowners. And so while some of them got forbearance for 6 months, the debt is going to be owed. And I think come March, we may see a rash of foreclosures if there's no moratorium, because a lot of people are going to have to pay the piper at that point. And I'm just wondering whether we're hurting some of the minority homeowners, quite frankly, who I think are in a bad situation, because they know the tenants know they cannot be evicted, and if they're not paying any rent, or especially when they have the ability. If they don't have the ability, that's one thing, but it's going to have an adverse effect on those homeowners who then we're going to have less property available for people to rent. So I think it's a vicious cycle. I just wish there was some. I think some of these should be taken on a case-by-case basis, so that if somebody's receiving assistance for rent, or that they actually pay the rent rather than just get a free ride, so that the homeowner, who may also be a minority, in many cases, is faced with a foreclosure situation. And I tend to see more of those people, but it's a problem. It's a byproduct of this whole thing. There's no easy solution. So I understand. I don't know, and I don't know how much longer you could extend the moratorium. I think the courts have taken a very lenient view, quite frankly. I mean, I don't think they're evicting people unless there's some real egregious situations where they had no loss of income, and they just didn't feel like paying the rent. Those situations hurt those homeowners, many of whom are minorities themselves. So,
yeah, if I may, Chairman.
Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, absolutely. So, one of the things is I would say accountability, and you could, be right on that end, right? Is how do you actually manage a policy or an eviction, or make sure that someone's paying the rent? Very similar to the discussion that was happening throughout the summer on the PPP loan, right? How do we know they're being used really for businesses and not for something else, and how much fraud is out there. And I think there's potential for we're talking about fraud as far as you're getting money and not paying what or utilizing for what you apply for, what it should be used for. That's certainly definitely a policy and accountability that needs to be taken. As far as landlords, though, that can't pay some of their mortgages, the moratorium kind of calls for rent and mortgage assistance. And just very much so, as we have moratorium on rent, it's a moratorium that hopefully we are able also to get a mortgage assistance, just like United Way is currently doing with their Safe Harbor program, where they're also not only having tenants who are income eligible tenants, but also homeowners who are not able to pay their mortgage. And these are programs that are being offered due to the impact of COVID-19. So I'm hoping that if there are landlords that are also trying to pay their mortgage and unfortunately are not receiving the monthly rent from their tenants, that they also are able to reach out to United Way regarding the program available to them. So, but at the same time, I don't want to point fingers at anyone and say, you know, you're not using the money for what it's for. And the idea behind is that there are also families that are, you know, on temporary assistance programs. There are families that are not on temporary assistance programs and are working 2 or 3 jobs because one of their employers probably cut down on hours and they picked up at another business. And luckily for them, those businesses are still around and using those funds to pay the rent. And some of them may be just a few weeks behind or a month or 2. And this is where the moratorium really comes in to help those families in need.
Yeah, just a clarification on the PPP money. It did, though, require that it was 85%. I think they dropped it to 75% of the money had to be used for payroll. Otherwise, it's not being forgiven. So that restriction was pretty strong. I don't know what we could do on this type of thing, but I just think, is there a time limit on what you proposed, or?
Well, the resolution it stands right now is calling for the governor to issue an order placing the moratorium, not for another. I'm not calling it for like another year or 2 or 3 months. It's just asking her to release the additional federal stimulus money for the emergency rental and mortgage assistance.
Okay.
So it's pretty much what we have in place now, except this one expires December 31st. And this one's just urging her, as well as our delegation, whenever we convene, or, you know, to make sure that we can extend it to help out those families. You know, I may not know, and I could have a neighbor who lives a few houses from me or blocks away from me who has, again, you know, few jobs just because their pride is they don't want to go through the temporary assistance. They want to make sure that they still keep working. And so how or why should they be, you know, I don't know if disqualified is a word, but why should they be not protected by this rent and mortgage moratorium because of someone else's fault? Just again, I feel like it's, you know, we're going to start calling bad apples. We can call bad apples in so many different, you know, sections, whether it's, you know, COVID-19, pre-COVID-19. But no, I'm not calling precisely for an actual date to answer your direct question, Chairman.
Okay. No, I like
for the release. Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that you want the money released to help. I just, you know, they just need to put some restrictions on it. But you're right. I just think that there are a lot of people that need the help, including some of the homeowners who may, you know, are struggling. They're not wealthy. They're struggling to survive as well, and they need the rent or something to replace it. So anyway, no, I think it's good. I'm not sure what what form it'll get resolved at the State House, but it's certainly only a resolution, so we can only ask. So any other members of the council have any comments or questions? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second, Madam Clerk, on the amended motion. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas,
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan,
Yes.
Councilmember Brady,
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas,
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio,
Yes.
Council President Farina.
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have the committees, finance, which I chaired. First, we had a resolution authorizing real estate tax abatements passed in committee at its passage here.
Motion to
Entertain a
approve.
motion. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels,
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas,
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan,
Yes.
Councilmember Brady,
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas,
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio,
Yes.
Council President Farina.
Yes.
And next, we had a resolution authorizing motor vehicle tax abatements passed unanimously at its passage here.
Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels,
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas,
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan,
Yes.
Councilmember Brady,
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas,
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio,
Yes.
Council President Farina.
Yes.
And lastly, on finance, we had a resolution authorizing intangible tax abatements. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to
Second.
approve.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels,
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas,
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan,
Yes.
Councilmember Brady,
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas,
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio,
Yes.
Council President Farina.
Yes.
Next, we have the ordinance committee, which I also chaired. One item on the agenda, 10-20-01, ordinance and amendment of chapter 2.40.020 Code of the City of Cranston entitled Municipal Court Judges, sponsored by Councilmember Stichels, as amended in the November 12th meeting. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
A motion to approve in a second. Under discussion, Councilman Stichels, did you want to mention anything? Or-
Yeah, this is to establish a process for reviewing municipal judges, that they would be nominated, that they would be referred to the Finance Committee, and in the month of January, and then if approved by the full council in the month of January, they'd assume office at the beginning of February, and that the existing judges would continue in office until a new judge was confirmed by the council.
Under discussion,
Council Vice President Favicchio?
Yes, Director
Bob
Strom.
Strom, how are you?
Good, how are you tonight?
Good. I just got a question. On the body of this ordinance, it says the council president shall nominate judges, and then it says nominations shall be referred to the ordinance committee for a hearing, and each nominee shall submit a resume to the city clerk at least 10 days before the hearing. And then it says upon receiving the recommendation of the ordinance, I guess, it would go to the finance committee. I'm a little confused. Is it the ordinance committee or the finance committee?
Well, it
Why
was
would-
amended, to finance, I think, or amended to be in the finance committee. Councilman Stichels, can you?
He's absolutely right. We amended it in only one spot, and it should be amended in two spots. It does, Bob, the intention was that they go to the finance committee, because the finance committee handles all the department director confirmations.
Okay, so then line 28, Councilman Stichels should say finance committee rather than ordinance?
You're right, yes. So I would offer an amendment on line 28 to change the word ordinance to finance.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I have one question. Is Attorney Verdecchia on the call? One of our solicitors? I guess not. Okay. But Mr. Strom, you brought up an interesting
I'm
point.
here.
Oh, yes, John. I hadn't looked at this ordinance before tonight, before this meeting, but Mr. Strom said that the current ordinance said that the council president shall appoint. Is that your understanding?
That was my understanding. That's
Yeah,
how the
and then
ordinance.
and then council confirms it. Okay. So we have a motion and a second to
I have a
change.
que-
Yes, go ahead.
I'm
Councilmember
sorry.
Clark.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I followed correctly on your question, Chairman. Was that regarding, is your motion to approve the change of ordinance to Finance Committee, or is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all that's on. I just had a question that Mr. Strom brought to mind, but the current amendment is just to change line 28 to finance, which we can discuss, but that's the motion. And I think we had a second. Councilman Hopkins, you had a.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just trying to figure out why we're heading into this direction. What's wrong with the way we do it right now? Why do we need to change this?
Councilman Stichels, go right ahead. Sorry.
Because there's very little review of the municipal judges under the present system. There's no resumes submitted, and there's very little notice of who the nominees are. And they're voted on at the inauguration, which is pretty much a ceremonial event. And it's hardly the time to start examining the qualifications of the nominations. Just to give a month for the new council to settle in and look at resumes and review the nominations.
Any other questions? Yes, Councilman Paplaskas.
Yeah, thank you. We're talking about the amendments, so I'll vote for some of these amendments, but when it gets to the vote on the overall ordinance, I'm going to vote no on it. Concerned about it holding up revenue. All of the qualifications that a lawyer goes through to practice, pass the bar, be qualified to practice in front of the Supreme Court. And these judgeships are not lifetime appointments. They're 2-year appointments, parking tickets, housing violations, that kind of thing. So for those 3 reasons, I'm going to be voting no on the full ordinance. The amendments, I don't know. I just clicked on the link and read it. It seems very jumbled and out of order. It says February still on here. I don't see where it says January. So I might need more than just one amendment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Stichels, I'll let you respond to
Well,
that.
let's vote on the amendment, and I think.
Okay. Major Patalano, did you have a question, or are you just fixing the screen? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second on the amendment. Any other discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Fabrizio?
Yes.
Council President Farino?
Yes.
Okay. Now, on the motion as amended, further discussion, Councilman Paplaskas, you made your questions.
I had
Attorney
a Chairman,
Protect-
a question. I had a question when you get a chance as well.
Yes, go right ahead, Councilmember Vargas.
Thank you. I had a question on the proposed amendment. I believe the proposed amendment on line 27, it also adds the verbiage on there, the council president shall nominate judges. And one of the things that I wanted to say is that I really believe that we should have, leave it where the city council appoints and not the council president. And so the way I believe the current city ordinance is that you can begin with city council appointments on the judgeship. And so changing it to the council presidency, regardless of party, whomever has the majority or not, I still believe that it gives the council president 100% power over the nominations and not the other 8 council members. And so I feel that that might be language that I would suggest removing it from there, or perhaps leaving it where instead of saying that council president shall nominate judges, leave it where I think it currently stands, which is I believe it's the city council appoints the judge or nominates the judges. Because if you're also looking at information in our general laws, I believe it doesn't mention anything about the council president. It just talks about the city council. So I don't know if we need some sort of legal advice or what anyone else thinks, but I'd be happy to discuss that.
I think it says the council by a majority of votes. That's what I think it says.
Which this just says that the council president nominates. That doesn't mean that he or she is selecting each one. I mean, you could still
Right.
vote against that person. Obviously, it tends to go along party lines. But over my 10 years, and I've seen a lot of bipartisan appointments. In fact, we kept a few years ago, 4 years ago, we kept Judge DeBona, who had been a long time Democratic appointee, and we reappointed him because he was doing a good job. So, and there are a number of appointees that have survived different majorities. So, I don't know that language is any different. And usually the protocol has been the council president nominates, just as people are nominated at the state level. But you have to remember that these are not well-paid jobs. They're largely ceremonial, except for maybe the chief justice of the municipal court and the probate judge. But my only concern is, as Councilman Paplaskas said, you're talking about us determining and debating the qualifications of the judges. I mean, we have that opportunity now. If somebody has a criminal record or there's a problem, we have had some issues, and we've asked, and people have actually resigned from some of the judgeships. But for the most part, it's been this way for 25, 30 years, I think. And my only concern is that we're going to get into a nomination process and a vetting process that could get ugly. And are we going to have public comment on those appointees? That would be concerning, because you could get into some really nasty situations. And quite frankly, no one's going to want to take the jobs. I mean, if it's going to be nasty. So I'm a little bit.
If I can just opt whenever we get a chance.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, so I don't have a problem, I'm going to be honest with you, with public hearing at all. I'm perfectly fine with that. My only concern is the council president nomination. Council president shall nominate judges. If you look at the state statute for the city of Cranston Municipal Court, it actually says that the city council of the city of Cranston is authorized and empowered to appoint a judge of the municipal court. So if we were to change this on the city level, I'm not sure how much it would affect on the fact that would we be violating any type of Rhode Island general laws in that sense. And if it's worked like this for as long as you can remember, because you have more experience than I on the council, then why add the council president shall nominate judge and then leave it where it's the city council the way it stands right now? Because what that means is that it's all nominations should really be coming from the council president and none from the rest of the council, even though, yes, we will all be voting on it, but the nomination is coming directly from the council president himself. So I would recommend the way it stands right now, the way the amendment of this entire ordinance is, I can't vote for it because it has the council president shall nominate judges on there. And I have a concern, even in general, if it goes before public hearing and what happens, and please educate me, any one of you, even the city solicitor, if a nomination was to fail within, say, committee, or it passes committee and then it goes to the council, do we then have to go back where the council president shall nominate judges? So, and not just that, but then if it fails, do we keep going? And what if it continues to March or then April? I'd hate to, even though it says it on there that the judge's appointment of 2019 shall serve until the successor is sworn into the office, I'd hate for that office in general, just municipal court, to have some sort of revenue impact and keep it going. Because we don't know, as professional as all our municipal judges are, I would hope that they would continue to serve until their successor is sworn in. But what if someone does step down before that? What if we have two who say, well, I'm not getting appointed, I'm not going to continue? That's my take. I also understand that it's going to be referred to the finance committee, and I believe it's probably because there's a fiscal note with it on a salary that they get. I can't recall, and I would have to do my homework unless any one of you also know, does the grant writer, does the harbor master, do they all go before finance committee as well to be approved?
No,
because if that's
no,
the
they
case, how does
no, they
why-
don't. I'll jump in
Full
real
council.
quick. As the council president,
Mhm.
the full council appoints all of these positions at the inauguration. In my 8 years in the council, that's the way it's always been done, save a few here or there. If for some reason we didn't have the appointment or somebody challenged the appointment, if you remember my first term as council president, the auditor was challenged by a member of the body, and because of the questions that she was asked, she actually decided not to take the position because she felt that this is an appointment. Well, I have a CPA. I meet all the requirements for the position. I've been vetted. Why am I being discussed about an open forum like this? So that's how it's been happening for my entire term on the council.
Thank you for that clarification.
Councilman Stichels.
Someone has to nominate candidates. So you could either have the wording say the council president, or you could have the wording say any council member may nominate. But somebody's got to start the process. You can't just say the city council will nominate. Somebody's got to make the name. So you could go either way. And the concern of Councilman Poplawskis that it's going to somehow delay revenue or reduce revenue. We went over that in committee, and we put together an amendment, which is listed in this proposal, that the current judges stay in office until the next one is confirmed. So there's that protection. And then if you look around the state, Rhode Island has Cranston has more judges than any other municipality. So if, as Councilwoman Vargas suggested, somebody gets sick or resigns, there's plenty of judges to fill the gap there until a new one is appointed. So I don't think there's going to be any impact on revenue now that there's been that amendment. I think in the original version there would have been, but that's been corrected.
Through the chair,
Yes, Councilwoman.
can we ask, is it Mr. Verdecchia who's on the line?
Yes,
John, you're there.
yes.
Would we be, if this amendment was to go through, and sorry, I'm kind of stuck right now and I have a few concerns, but obviously let's start off with the first one as far as you council president shall nominate judges. If that was to remain, would we be conflicting with the Rhode Island General Statute? Because the Rhode Island General Statute notes that the city council of the city of Cranston is authorized and empowered to appoint a judge, whereas this would be a little where the city one would be different.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. First of all, just to give you all of you just a little bit of a primer, municipal courts can be established by the various municipalities only with enabling legislation from the state legislature. So when the state authorized the various communities and municipalities to establish municipal courts, that legislation was strictly enabling. And what I mean by that is that the state law simply gives you the authority to appoint judges. It does not bind you in any way as to the process or the procedures which you want to put into place. So that's just the state statute is just a very general grant of authority. They're not telling you have to do it a certain way. So when the state statute says the city council, the Cranston City Council, is authorized to establish a municipal court and appoint judges, I think you're reading a little too much into that. You're taking that extremely literally. It doesn't mean that the council as a whole has to decide what names are submitted. It just means that you have the authority to appoint. How you choose to vet and choose candidates, that's up to you. So there would be no conflict, as I see it, in this language by saying it can be the council president. That's a policy decision on all of your parts. If that's how you want to do it, that's how you do it. Just by way of analogy, the way it works on the state level, at one time it was the governor who would nominate candidates. Then those names would be submitted to the Senate for advice and consent. That's how it worked then, and that's how it works on the federal level. That was changed several years ago when the state formed the Judicial Nominating Commission. So they created this commission to screen applicants and then submit a list of, I think it's 6 names, to the governor, and then the governor picks out of those 6 names. So the screening process takes place by this commission. You don't have that here in Cranston. We don't have that. I think, we're kind of making this a little more complicated than it needs to be. I guess if you wanted to emulate the state, what you could do is set up a committee just for the purpose of receiving applications and then forwarding nominations to the full council. I guess that's one way of doing it, but I think that's a little overly complicated for a municipality to do, quite honestly. But as far as whether it's the council president who advances the names, or if you want to do it by committee, that's a policy decision which you're all debating right now. That's going to be up to you. But the state isn't going to dictate to you what procedure you should use. That's totally up to you. It's up to this council.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council Vice President?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be brief because talking hurts. We do have a nominating committee for judges and the auditor and all the positions that the council appoints. The nominating committee is the caucus of the party in control of the council. That is the nominating committee that meets and makes their decisions based on who they want to be appointed to the Cranston City Council. In reality, you need 5 votes to be elected to any position on this body. And if the party that holds the caucus agrees that the person they wanted to put in as a judge or the auditor, those 5 people agree, then it's on the caucus to explain to the people if there's an issue with that person. So I think the way it's done, I have no issue with creating transparency. The only challenge I have is that we're looking at, it's November. This council is going to have a brand new council made up of, 4 definitely brand new people and 1 person with only about a half year experience. I don't think this body should be telling a future body how they should try to vote for their nominations. That's my feelings on the subject, so I will be voting no.
Councilman Donegan.
Thank you, Chairman. Based on my cursory review of code and the charter, the council president does not, essentially this line 27 would be granting the city council president that authority. This isn't something that's already cemented in code anywhere or in the charter. And as much respect as I have for our current council president and for who I believe will be our next council president, I don't think that giving the city council president the sole authority to nominate, to name nominations for municipal court judges is appropriate. I would feel more comfortable if the language is to the effect of members of the city council should have the ability to nominate judges. That way, members of whatever party can nominate someone based on their qualifications, and those names would then be forwarded to the finance committee, and the finance committee would make their vote. If the majority party, if their caucus is in order, in line with the people they want, well, then they're going to get the people they want. But I think that people deserve a debate on these things. And so there's that. That's why I think that line 27 needs to be amended. That way it's not giving the sole authority to the city council president. The other part on the merits of the kind of the crux of the ordinance, which is that nominations for municipal court judges should be reviewed. I think personally, I think it's self-evident that it should be reviewed. Almost everything that comes before us goes under review. And frankly, my first experience as a city council member was inauguration in January of 2019. And there was a controversial appointment to the municipal court. We had someone who is a registered lobbyist for an organization here in Rhode Island. And regardless of that organization, they're a registered lobbyist. And I then, and still now, don't feel that lobbyists should be serving as judges. That's something that we should have had the ability to debate and review as a city council, as elected officials. We didn't. We were not allowed to debate. We weren't allowed to bring up the issue, and we were forced to vote on it on inauguration night. So I feel that everyone should have the ability to review municipal court judge appointments, nominations, and that everyone on this body who's elected should have the ability to put a name forward.
Councilman Brady.
Thank you, Chairman. This is, I certainly understand why it's being brought forward, and I appreciate it being brought forward. I wasn't exactly sure, and where I was going to go with this as the night went on, because I do believe that, well, for starters, I kind of believe we have too many judges, and especially going into a year of COVID, where the courts have been closed for a long process in the year. But I also understand why we do have them, and obviously they're not compensated very highly. In addition to that, I obviously believe we as a council should have a say in who the judges are. The benefit of who I believe will be our next leader and our previous leader, they have given us input in that decision. Obviously interviews can be conducted, and I know this has been done for a very long time, including when the Democrats had the majority. That being said, I understand why Councilman Stichels is bringing it up, and I think it's a great point that maybe we should discuss further. Unfortunately, he is obviously coming to his tenure at the end of a very proud duration that he served the city of Cranston. I'm curious why, with only a month left in his service that we're now discussing this now. But that being said, it's a great, as he's brought up many points that I truly respect and look at, point that we are discussing. I do question voting for it tonight because, like I said, it's been the same for as far as we know. That doesn't mean that it can't be changed and discussed. I think obviously just because it was the same doesn't mean it should be not changed. But I'm leaning towards not supporting this tonight based on the timing of this initiative. Thank you.
Councilman Donegan.
Yeah, I just, I'm not speaking for Steve, and Ed, I know this obviously was not what you were insinuating, because I know you and I know where your heart is, and I know you're in the right place. But just for anyone that's listening tonight, this was introduced in October before the election results were known. So I don't think this is something that was done for any partisan reason. And I think Ed, you and I have worked together.
That's fair, John. I didn't mean to insinuate that.
No, and I know you didn't. I'm just clarifying for other people. And my principles are my principles. And if we had the majority coming in next term, I'd be saying the same things as I am tonight.
I can relate a story about serving on the probate judge advisory committee probably about 20 years ago. I tried to ask some questions of a nominee, and the ruling member of the majority party wouldn't even let me ask questions. But so I understand where you're coming from, Steve. But I'm just a little concerned about doing it for this next council without further study. I just think that, we have auxiliary judges. They don't get paid. I think it's like $32.50. It's like a tiny amount of money, and they tend not to sit that much. But we basically have alternates. Even for the probate judge's spot, we have an alternate who didn't take any pay this past 2 years, and just did it as a service to the city, and helped to alleviate some of the backlog for our current probate judge, who was well overworked. The probate position has become really busy with a lot of guardianships and some other things happening that make it a difficult job, actually. And the other thing is, we don't have a nomination committee that consists of some people that have experience in the court system. I think we're just going to, it could end up getting nasty. I'd like to see more, research into how other municipalities do it. I just think that we're going to be binding the brand new council with another task that they probably don't need at this point in time with the COVID and the financial situation that the city is in. The legislature hasn't even decided on its budget yet. And that's going to spill into the new year, I think. So this year's budget will be an issue in January. So I don't know that this needs to be addressed right now. I think it's something that should be addressed, but I think the next council should do it. Any Councilman Donegan?
Yeah, one last point. I think, Chairman, your point about revenues is really important, and we don't want to have any lost opportunity as we move forward with such tight budgets. And I think that we've seen, at least over the two budgets that I've been a part of, how well the municipal court has run under the current leadership. And I think that it's even more incumbent, even more important that going forward, we ensure that people that are being appointed to the municipal court are going to continue that work to ensure that we keep up the revenue streams as best as possible given the circumstances. I think it makes it even more important to make sure that we're reviewing and appointing the correct people.
Councilman Stichels.
One about the point that we shouldn't saddle a future council with this. If it's ever going to change, the process is going to change. One council is going to have to do it for the next council. So that's going to happen no matter when, if you change the process. And I think the point of this proposal is to have a process where we have a public examination of the qualifications of municipal judges. And we don't have that now. It's not a Democratic thing. It's not a Republican thing. We've never examined the judges in the 10 years with 3 Democratic terms and 2 Republican terms. So there's enough going on in the inauguration that this is an important matter. These judges are important. They're not functionaries. We have, as we discussed earlier tonight, we have problems with code violations that we need to make sure that we have a competent, ethical people as our judges. And that has to be an open process. That's the only way that we can hope to accomplish that. So that's what I see this. Either you vote for an open process or you vote for the continued closed process.
Any other members of the council? Councilwoman Jermaine?
Thank you, Chairman. Even though I'm new in this process, but I think hold people accountable is very important, whether you are Democrat or Republican. And I think set the precedent is good, whether this council or the next council has to be done some way. So that's why I think having a process to really know who are our people who serve us, who we trust to serve our community, it's important. So that's why I will be supporting that we have a process in place, because it's not because it works, it doesn't need rules, it doesn't need standards. So I think last meeting, we talked about our judges, how we know they are doing a good job. And I think, Chairman, you said, because they bring with you. So that's one of the characteristics we evaluate them. So if we know upfront who we have, and also I will suggest we have other processes to not only evaluate them, know their qualification upfront, but moving forward, how we can continue to monitor them and how we can continue to see if they continue to do a good job. So I will be supporting of this ordinance.
Okay. If there's no further, Councilman Donegan, I'll let you have one last.
No, that's, I just want to, whatever happens with this ordinance tonight, I hope that whatever the process is next term, that the nominations for municipal court judges there will be the opportunity to debate, whether it's at inauguration night or a special meeting or whatever it might be, that whenever that happens, if it is inauguration night, that we are allowed to debate the point, because we weren't given that opportunity in 2019. And I mean, not to belabor the point, but it's important. And I mean, we've had very lively, passionate discussions about unpaid positions to boards and commissions. And quite frankly, I think the conversation about the harbor master got more discussion than the municipal court judges on inauguration night for this term. So I hope that whatever the process is, that it is a transparent one that gets the public discourse that all matters before it should receive.
I think it's a good point, Councilman Donegan.
Just a point of order, I mean, just a point of information, and then I'll go to Councilman Stichels. So, but the difference between this position, the judge's position, and other positions is that the Supreme Court of Rhode Island watches over very carefully everybody that practices law. So, there is a supervising authority that determines qualifications, at least to practice law, and is very swift in reacting to problems in the profession. It's amazing how quick they react. So I think that there's a little difference in, with regard to those positions. And I just think that we'd have to really set up the process correctly as to what our standards are, whether you're going to allow, 10 people to come and speak. And if a couple of clients don't like a particular attorney that's being nominated, is that going to result in a denial of the job? Because, it could get pretty ugly. I just think we need to take a good hard look at it. Obviously, I won't be able to, but my future council will be able to. I just think it's going to be difficult to do. There has been debate and votes against people on occasion. Councilman Donegan, I've seen, and that's fine. I mean, if someone, has a problem with someone as a judge, then they can voice their opinion at the council meeting. I think the resumes are sent out. Aren't they, Steve? Don't they? I always remember seeing resumes. So that should be something that's done as a matter of course. Yes, Steve.
I don't know about the resumes. I don't remember any. I think if you want to have an examination of the judges, you can't do it on inauguration night. I mean, I voted against more judges than anyone. And I'll tell you, it's awful. All right, because they're in the audience, their family is in the audience. You've got all these honorary people at the inauguration. It's a feel-good evening. And then, that nitwit Stikos is objecting to some municipal judge. It's just very uncomfortable. And so don't fool yourself that you're going to have careful examination of judges on inauguration night. It's not going to happen. All right, I've been cut off from discussing them, interrupted. And that's going to be the same sentiment, because on an inauguration night, people want a non-controversial, positive evening, which is great, but you can't mix the two. So I would really hope that people would vote for this, so you have an open process. And you know what? If it doesn't work in January, and some of these fears arise, you've got a new council, they can repeal it and change the process to something else. But the current process is lousy.
Yeah.
Just lousy.
Well, I think you're right about doing it on inauguration night. I mean, I suppose once that council is sworn in, they could hold a special session just to deal with the judges shortly after to get it done, fairly quickly, rather than I'm just concerned about the public comment and what it could turn into. I know the council can ask any questions, but you're right, it is more difficult on inauguration night. So perhaps maybe, and I don't know that needs an ordinance to do it that way. I guess the new council president could ask that they vote on putting it on the calendar within a week of the inauguration, just to have a one session just on that. Even if it's an executive session. I don't know if our attorney can weigh in on that, but I'm sure there's a way to do it. And Councilmember Jermaine.
Just a question. If you have a judge on inauguration day, that means it's already set up. So that's not the time you're going to make a choice. The choice already made. So is that the process?
It's been done like that.
You have your family, you have the job already if you are at the day of the inauguration. So that's when you have the job. So if you have your family there, so I don't see it worth to have a debate in front of your family, whether you are qualified or not. So that should be something prior of the inauguration day. So at the only inauguration day, that's something to congratulate your judges. So not having a debate. So that's awkward for me.
Well, yeah, although, I mean, the at the state level, and those jobs are lifetime jobs. Actually, the nominating committee, which is made up, I don't know if it's primarily lawyers, but and judges, but they're vetted by their peers. This is a little different, and I don't know. I mean, what questions are you going to ask? If you're not familiar with the job and what it entails, then what are you going to ask for questions? I just think that it's going to be difficult. I think that maybe it should be a separate night for the decision, but how you set it up, I think, is going to take a little bit of effort. I think everyone has spoken. We had I guess, Madam Clerk, we had a motion to amend. Is that what is on the floor? The motion to amend it, or are we past that at this point?
There was a motion to amend line 28 to state finance committee rather than ordinance.
Okay, and I think didn't that pass?
We took a vote on that. The motion on the floor is motion to approve as amended.
As amended. Okay. Having no further discussion, Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
No.
Councilmember Vargas?
No.
Councilmember Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
No.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
No.
Council Vice President Vecchio?
No.
Council President Farino?
No.
Okay. Next, Claims Committee, Councilman Donegan.
Thank you, Council Vice President. This is just here for informational purposes for the docket.
Okay. Yep, since you settled 4 or 5 cases. Good. Not a lot of money either. That's great.
We like that.
Yeah, we like that. All right, now we're on public hearing. Anyone from the public like to speak on any undocketed or any item? I don't see anyone. So Madam Clerk, you don't see anyone
No, I don't.
raising their hand. All right, we'll close that portion of the meeting. Election of city officials, Board of Contract and Purchase, appointment of Robert Santuri to fill the unexpired term of Michael Schlesinger, ending 1/4/2021. Councilman Stichels promoted his name. Do we need to vote on this, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
No.
No, we don't.
My
No.
appointment.
That's just an appointment. Okay. So I'll just, notify everyone of these appointments. The next is the Tax Assessment Board of Review, reappointment of Michael Sicoscio for term ending November 23, 2023. Council members Farino and Favicchio, he was our appointment last time. So Arts Commission, appointment of Milton.
We got to vote on that one.
We do have to vote on tax assessment.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll entertain a motion on the Tax Assessment Board of Review.
So move.
Okay. Motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion, and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins? Councilmember Hopkins? Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Vecchio?
Yes.
Council President Farino?
Yes.
Next, the Arts Commission, appointment of Nilton Cardenas for term ending November 23, 2023. Council Member Vargas, this was your appointment. I don't believe it needs a vote either, does it?
We do motion to approve.
I don't think it needs it. Yes, is that John Verdecchio?
No, I didn't know if it needed a motion to
Yep.
approve. If that was the case, I was going to
Councilor
propose it,
Stike.
Chairman.
It does need to be approved by the council.
It does?
Yeah.
Does not, okay.
It does.
It does.
Motion to
It
approve.
does. A
Second.
motion, and we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the.
Wait. Could we have a little background on Mr.?
Sure,
Can I speak?
go right ahead.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Cardenas, unfortunately was not able to be on the call today. His father, Mr. Jorge Cardenas, passed. Funeral, the wake was just yesterday. But a little bit about Mr. Cardenas' background is that I'm not sure many of you have heard of the Back to School Celebration Program, where there was thousands of backpacks that were handed out through the entire state. The last 3 years, there's been about 1,000 backpacks, total about 3,000 backpacks that has been distributed to the students here in the city of Cranston, where there's been partnership with the YMCA. And so his father was a part of that, and Mr. Cardenas, Nilton Cardenas, was also a huge contributor towards that as well. So I just wanted to put that out there, send my condolences to Mr. Cardenas as we're going through his resume. Mr. Nilton Cardenas, he's an art and painting instructor. He's also a muralist. Aside from obviously living here in the city, he's done a lot of murals and paintings and has a lot of exhibit throughout the entire state of Rhode Island, in addition to the New England region, as far as galleries as well, nationally and internationally as well. He's been recognized by many organizations. His resume should have been sent to each and every one of you, I believe, from the clerk. If I apologize if it wasn't sent, but I submitted his resume over to the clerk. He currently works for the City of Providence School Department and many other organizations where he supports arts and culture in the city, and after school programs as well. And he's a volunteer of many organizations throughout the state as well. He has a journalism degree and also a painting degree. I'm not sure exactly how to say that, but he's a painter. And I think he would be a great addition to the Arts Commission, particularly with his background in murals. I've seen murals starting to come up around the city, particularly on Park Ave, right across from the school department. The Arts Commission should be something that should continue to move forward. I did reach out to the Arts Commission. I sent them an email just to let them know about this appointment. I have not heard back from them, but I wanted to make sure that they knew that there was an opening if they didn't already, and give them a background to Mr. Cardenas. One of the things that one of the members of the Arts Commission had said is they wanted to see more muralists integrated within the City Arts Commission. And I really think that Mr. Cardenas would be a great addition towards the city as you continue to move forward with the Arts Commission and the work that they've done throughout the city. So I think he would be a great addition to the Arts Commission. What else can I say? Hoping everybody got his resume. Did you all not receive his resume?
No.
I believe we did. Madam Clerk, did
Okay.
that resume go out?
I believe it did,
Yeah.
but I can resend it.
All right, he's been recognized. I can go down real quickly, his awards and recognitions. He's been awarded and recognized by Dorcas International Institute of Rhode Island. He's been recognized by the Arts in the Ocean State by the current governor. He's received certificate appreciation as well on his artwork on the Newport Art Museum, his display at the Blackstone Valley Visitor Center. He's been recognized artistically and creatively by the Inclusive Community Mural at Brigham Middle School that he actually painted. He was also recognized through the Arts Proclamation through the City of Providence. He was also recognized in the 2014 State Latin American Art Exhibit at the Artrium Gallery hosted by Rhode Island State Council of the Arts. He was also awarded by Governor then Donald Carcieri the Outstanding Contribution to Enhance the Quality of Life Award for the people of the state of Rhode Island. He was recognized as well by the Service of the Arts and Culture to the Northern Manhattan Community Casa Duarte. He also awarded by recognized by the Colombian American Cultural Society Excellence Award He was provided many Senate citations in recognition of his collaborative and artistic accomplishments in creating the Mathematical Hughes mural from Senator Juan Pichardo. He was given an appreciation certificate for his participation in the art display of silent auction from the Hispanic Cultural Society of Rhode Island, and also his appreciation and service award by the Oliver Hazard Perry Middle School and community. And then I don't want to go down the line, but in the resume itself, it shows about 11 solo show exhibits that he's done, in addition to probably over 20 selected group exhibitions that he's done throughout the entire country, internationally, and within the state. Again, just kind of think that he would bring an excellent perspective in his passion and views in his protective and creative ways through the arts to the city of Cranston. And he's been a contributor of the city of Cranston with other organizations as well for many years. And I believe he lives just outside of my ward, actually lives, I believe, in Ward 2.
Thank you, Councilmember Vargas. Councilman Paplaskas?
Yeah, I just want to say this gentleman is highly qualified for the position. The arts, I'm happy to see that the Arts Commission is getting new members when they need to be filled. They've been doing great work, and I thank Councilmember Vargas for putting up this appointment, and I will be voting yes. Thank you.
Anyone else from the committee? All right, I will also be supporting this. I think he's very well qualified. We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins? Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Vecchio?
Yes,
Council President Farina?
I believe he's off the call.
Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Donovan.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I know we already voted on it, and I think it's just a Scrivener's error, but the appointment of Robert Santuri.
Yes.
Mr. Robert Santuri is a fine gentleman, but I think it's Mr. Robert Santuri Jr. that we want to appoint to BOCAP.
Okay. Is that the young man that has always come to meetings?
Yes.
And yes.
He was on the Charter Review Commission.
Yes. Yep, that's fine. I thought that's who I thought it was, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish we could vote for that. I wanted to vote for him.
Yeah.
But it's an appointment, Steve.
Yeah.
I would have voted for him.
Yeah. No, he's gonna
do a good job.
Go ahead, vote for him.
been very,
He's gonna do a great
Okay.
job.
Well, for Mr. Santeri, let's take the vote.
okay. Report of city officers, do we have any? I don't believe so. Executive communications, I think we received a list. You can all review it. I don't know if there are any questions.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, Councilman.
I'm wondering why the city is filing the lawsuit against the state for state aid rather than the Rhode Island city or towns who pay dues to them. It seems like it would be an issue that all the cities and towns could agree on, but we're going to foot the bill.
Well, we can ask the Director of Administration or Mr. Verdecchia. I would assume it's because we have some different interests in this, or if all of them do not want to sue the state, then perhaps the League of Cities and Towns wouldn't take it up. Director Perillo, you still there?
There was a disagreement on timing. There was discussion about several communities filing it. Some communities decided they wanted to wait and see what the General Assembly did. Mayor Fung did not want to wait. He believes that Cranston is owed its money, and that's what we wanted. So that was his reasoning behind pursuing that lawsuit.
Okay. Thank you, Director. Any other questions on that? Hearing none, let's move on. Council President Communications. The Council President dropped off a call. I think we're down to a few meetings. I think we'll be on Zoom for the remainder of the session. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Council member communications. Councilman Donegan, you had something on the tourism agreement?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So I think it was last year, perhaps earlier, seems like a decade ago, that we had someone from the Providence War Convention Bureau come before us and talk about the proposed agreement. After that meeting with the full body, Councilman Brady and I had a sit down with Director Perillo, Mayor Fung, a couple members of the board of Providence War Convention Bureau. And that just happened to be, I think, the day of or the day before the governor announced the closing of schools. So it has been obviously a tumultuous time, and priorities have been elsewhere. But I think just going forward, I kind of want to get an update on where we're going with that. It seems like it's $10,000 that would be really well spent by the city for a 2-year agreement. They would build a Go Cranston website, do marketing for the city. To that regard, establish and promote a Cranston Restaurant Week, as well as Cranston businesses, and try and help drive some revenue here within the city. So I think that's money that could be really well spent and help businesses. One way to help businesses during this time. So I'm just looking for an update on where we're at with that. If anyone from economic development or the mayor's office has reached out to the Providence War Convention Bureau to take the next steps to get that agreement finalized before the next administration comes in.
At this time, we have not, based on the current situation, it's kind of difficult to promote restaurants and so forth during these times. So to say we've sat down and hammered out an agreement with Mr. O'Donnell, we have not done that. I think internally we're probably thinking the first of the year, hopefully we'll be almost through this COVID or on the downside of it. And then maybe once the businesses and everyone else starts to get back up, then maybe we can forge that relationship and partner with them. I agree, the money is well worth the recognition and the publicity. I just don't think it's going to happen during this administration, Councilman.
Mayor Hopkins, are you still on the call?
No, I think he dropped off as well.
Okay, Councilman Donegan, I have had conversations with Mayor-elect Hopkins, and I know that it's important, that for our small businesses in this initiative, that and obviously he was involved in the conversation with the within that meeting. So I do believe that he will be moving forward with that initiative that we've worked on together. Obviously, Councilwoman Vargas and myself in the past also have worked on Rhode Island Small Restaurant Weeks. So, I look forward to working with both of you, in addition to Councilman Papalaskis and Ms. Germain, in addition to our new members moving forward, to make sure that we're all doing all in our power to continue to promote small business here throughout Cranston.
Thank you. So I guess that'll go forward in the next administration. Next, I had my online records project. I know they've been doing the beta testing, trying to get this done by the end of my term. Madam Clerk, have you been testing and on a daily basis?
So a new wrinkle showed up. They had not considered the state tax stamp. So that is being integrated into the program. So it will allow for the stamping of documents that are physically brought in addition to the e-recording. I wanted it integrated rather than a hybrid where they keep the existing state stamp machine. So that's been something that we kind of just discovered last week. That wasn't part of the plan. So it may delay it another month, but obviously we need to get that set and done correctly, because we can't, run into problems with the state with the tax stamp. So,
But I mean, every state has tax stamps.
I
so
know.
I don't know how they could overlook that.
I agree.
I'm
I
not
agree,
blaming you. I just, that's so basic in that industry that I don't know. I've always been a little skeptical of them, but so
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see if they can. They promised me by December 1, so we'll see
Well,
if they can do it by December 14.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want them to mess up that aspect of it, and I was kind of astonished that that wasn't planned out. So I apologize, but
It's not your fault. I mean, stamps have been there
I know.
alive, even though they were a lot cheaper back in the 70s. But that's amazing to me. Anyway, all right. We'll keep them on the calendar and keep them on the maybe put them on the last calendar, or if you think they'll have something for the finance meeting, I don't know. I've lost kind of hope with them, but
update you. They are working on addressing the tax stamp issue. I don't have an update on that since it was just discovered. So I'd be happy to provide an update at finance.
okay. Thank you. Thank you, Leanne. Sorry. Old business. I don't believe there is any old business. Oh, Councilman Paplowskis.
Thank you. I know I'm not on the docket, but I just had a question for Councilmember Donegan. I know he's got an event coming up this weekend at Sprague Mansion. I was wondering if he could plug that and maybe we can get some more volunteers for it.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. It's this Saturday, which is the 28th at 11 a.m. over at the Sprague Mansion. The Historical Society relies a lot on rental revenue, and in light of everything, like many nonprofits and businesses, their revenues are declining to the point where they're struggling to be able to afford a landscaper to clean up the grounds. So we're trying to get some people together on Saturday at 11 to help clean up the grounds. If you can, obviously wear a mask. Text me or call me. My phone number is 401-644-2403. And the only reason I say that is because as much as we'd love 100 people to show up, obviously that's probably not safe. So we just kind of want an idea of who can come and how many people we're going to have. So, but if you can, 11 a.m., Governor Sprague Mansion, bring your own gloves, your own rake, and if you have any to spare, some leaf bags.
Thank you, Councilmember Donegan. I will definitely be there to help Saturday at 11. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Any other council member communications? All right. And there's no old business before the council. Next, the introduction of new business. I'll entertain a motion to refer the respective ordinance to the proper committees.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplowskis?
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio?
Yes. Miscellaneous business on the clerk's desk. We have the Rhode Island State Fire Marshal blasting permit, 1936 Phoenix Avenue, Rossi Tree Farm. This is for informational purposes only. The next City Council regular meeting will be on December 14, 2020, 6:30, I guess, again, Madam Clerk? 6:30. That will be the last for Councilmember Stichels, myself, and Councilman Farina, I believe. So anyway, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Be
Happy
safe.
Thanksgiving to
Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving,
Thank you all.
everyone.
Happy
All in
Thanksgiving,
favor?
everybody.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.